the machine that was a punishment. In 1818, an English engineer named William Cubitt was asked to solve a problem in prisons. The problem, as the authorities saw it, was that prisoners were idle. Cubitt designed a large wheel. Prisoners stood on a row of steps set into its outer edge and held a bar above them. Their weight turned the wheel, and the wheel turned machinery. In some prisons it ground grain. In some, it pumped water. In a number of them, it was connected to nothing at all, and the men simply climbed for the sake of climbing. It was called the treadwheel, and later the treadmill. A man might climb the equivalent of several thousand feet in a day. It was hard, monotonous work, and that was the entire point. It was designed to be pointless. It spread through the prison system and stayed there for most of a century. Britain removed it from prisons by law in 1898 on the grounds that it was cruel. The idea sat quietly for decades after that. It came back in the 1960s when doctors began using moving belts to test hearts under load, and then it came back again as something people bought for their homes. The machine is now a normal piece of furniture in a spare bedroom. The same motion, the same endlessness, the same going nowhere. The only thing that changed is that we choose it. A game meant as a warning. Elizabeth Magie was an American writer, poet, and stenographer, and a follower of the economist Henry George. George argued that private ownership of land was the root of a great deal of poverty. Magie thought this was hard to explain in an argument and easier to show in a game. She designed a board where players moved around a square track, bought property, and charged each other rent for landing on it. As the game went on, one player accumulated everything, and the rest were slowly ruined. That was not a flaw. That was the demonstration. She patented it in 1904 as the landlords game, and it came with two sets of rules. One where land grabbing ran unchecked, and one where the proceeds were shared, so that players could compare the two outcomes for themselves. The teaching game spread by copying. It was played in colleges, redrawn by hand, and passed between households for 30 years, and along the way, the second set of rules quietly fell out of use. A version of it was sold to Parker Brothers in the 1930s. Magie's own patent was bought for $500. The game is now the best-selling board game in the world, and it is played for the pleasure of bankrupting your family. The lesson survived. The moral was lost somewhere in the middle. Filters for gas masks. During the First World War, cotton was needed for surgical dressings and was in short supply. A paper company in Wisconsin developed a substitute made from processed wood pulp. It was absorbent, cheap, and could be produced in quantity. They called it Celicotton. It went to the front as wound dressing, and it was also used as a filter material inside gas masks. When the war ended, the company had a great deal of manufacturing capacity and no war to supply. They spent several years looking for something civilian to do with the material. The first answer, in 1924, was a disposable sheet for removing cold cream. It was sold as a beauty product to women for taking makeup off, and it was named Kleenex. Then the letters started arriving. Customers wrote to say they were using the sheets for something else entirely. They were blowing their noses into them. The company ran a survey, and the survey said the same thing. In the 1930s, the advertising was rewritten around the handkerchief you throw away. The material was invented for a war, sold for a cosmetic, and is now on the bedside table of anyone with a cold. Very little about the sheet itself has changed in 100 years.